I definitely do think that both the police and the government in Armenia are very corrupt. Whenever there is a dispute between the government and the civilians, the police will always be on the side of the government, no matter what the issue is. So yes, it is very corrupt.
The police is definitely corrupt in the Dominican Republic. 90% of the organized crime in the Dominican Republic is made by public officials, whether it is military or police officers, so definitely, like, that's for sure.
I don't think the police in my country is corrupt, just because I don't know exactly how the system works. I came here to the United States when I was 13 years old, and when you're young, you don't pay attention to these things. Like, all I know about the policeman is just he's a police. He drives his own car, driving around, stopping people, giving some tickets, and helping around. So yeah.
I don't think that police in my country is corrupt, in general at least. There are obviously some exceptions, and some case came out about cops that were corrupted and connected with criminal organization or politicians. But in general, I think that they work pretty well, and they are and citizen feels safe when they call them.
I don't think the police is generally corrupt. I do think they're just incompetent. There is no, compared to other Latin American countries, corruption is very little. Compared to America, it may be perceived as corrupt, but in my opinion, being from a big city, San Juan, is not corrupt.
Corrupt is kind of a big word. I do believe that there are things that are wrong with it and things that could be done better. Corruption, I guess, could describe what that's like, but I definitely think it's somewhat effective. I do think that there are some problems with it.
Depends on how you define corruption. So if you think about corruption in terms of graft or bribery, so cops taking money to look the other way at drug deals, or to look the other way at vice or whatever, then there may be some element of that. There may be some corrupt coppers, I'm sure there are. Well, of course there are. But whether the institution is corrupt, whether it's endemically corrupt in that way, I suspect that it isn't.
I don't think so. The police in my country are corrupt, and because we are following the Islamic rules, and it's really a big sin for police to do that, and I haven't seen any issue that the police were doing something wrong.
One of the main differences that I see between the police in Armenia and the police in the US is the fact that, from my own experience, the police in the US works toward protecting civilians as if they are doing their duties as assigned, whereas in Armenia I see, due to the previously mentioned corruption, I see a lot of off-duty things that the police does just for personal gains, which I haven't yet experienced in the US.
For me, the biggest difference between the police in the US and the police in the DR is their attitude towards their profession, and as well as the equipment, the development and technology. They have, like, here in the US they have like a much developed institution. The respect for law in the police here is much greater than in the DR.
I think the cops here are more strict, like they are more aggressive. Like, I guess they have more power than the police in my country does have. All of them here, like, they have their own position, and everybody have their own car, and they have, yeah, as I said, they have more power than the policeman does in my country.
I think the police in the United States can intervene can be very fast to get to the place when they are called. Instead, in Italy, probably they need a little bit more time for a different reason.
The biggest difference is probably intimidation and authority. When you're around a policeman in Puerto Rico, you feel like that is a public servant and he's there to serve you. Here, the authority is intimidating, uncomfortable, and I'm actually afraid to be around on-duty policemen here in the U.S., while in Puerto Rico I am not.
I think, especially something that's been capitalized on a lot lately, is that the police have been pegged as singling out certain groups of people, as far as like arrests and things like that.
The obvious thing is that cops in the US carry guns. That's simply an accepted part of the culture here, which of course it isn't in the UK. There are officers with guns, but it's a very unusual thing.
I would say the police in the U.S. More educated. I mean, in Logan, because for them it's like a really good job to be an officer. Back home isn't like a big deal. You don't have to be well educated to be a police. It's kind of like you can go there. They don't pay. I don't know how well they pay here, but in Saudi Arabia they don't pay well as the other majors. So that's why